Hi everybody, it's John Pederesi from GiovanniPitara.com in our fourth segment on how to make a simple bezel cup. And in our last segment, we made the bezel itself, the bezel wire from one solid piece. From one strip, we formed it into the shape of the stone and soldered it shut so it becomes one bezel piece. And some things I didn't talk about in the last video that need to be talked about before we go on. Well, once this, you can't see it because I filed it down. It's all one piece. It looks like one uniform piece. You can't even find the seam. But after it's soldered, it leaves a little bump. So on the inside, I filed that bump down because that little bump, no matter how small it is, will keep that push away from the stone. And when you look down at the stone, it's going to look uneven. So you need to file that even so it's all even around. And what I do on the outside is with the stone still in it, because there's always a bump left over after solder, is with the stone still in it. I just file it until it's even with the rest of the bezel, and that'll make you one piece. So that's some of the things I left out in the last video. And before we go on to making the bezel cup, I want to talk about solder. Okay. Oh, another thing about with the bezel itself, to make it flat, get some 300 grit paper and run it around in a figure eight on both sides to make it nice and flat. All right, let's talk about solder. I didn't talk about that in the last video, and we need to talk about that. Solder comes in different melting points. There's hard, easy, extra easy, the hard, medium, easy, extra easy. And all that means is that the solder is going to melt at a certain point. I'm not exactly sure what the melting points are, but I think they're 1700 degrees for hard and less to go on there. So if you're going to make more than one solder, you don't want to melt the first solder. So you start with hard solder, and the hard solder will be your initial solder. And I get away with doing two solders on hard. When I'm making a cup, I will use hard on my bezel, and then I'll use hard on the inside to solder it to the plate. Keeping an eye on that seam, because I don't want to melt that. Just if it gets shiny, that means it's getting ready to melt. Just pull the torch away. So I can do that. I can, keep an eye on it and not melt the bezel cup and the bezel. I've done that many times before, so that's why I keep an eye out for it. And they step down. What keeps it stepping down from different temperatures is the amount of copper in it. This hard solder right here is 70% silver and 30% copper. And the medium goes down to 70% silver. No, I'm sorry. Hard is 75%. And the medium is 70%, and the easy is 65%. So that means if I got two solders that I'm going to put onto something else, so like for bezel cup, I'm going to make a ring. I'm going to put solder that to there. That's going to be hard solder, and then I'm going to put a ring shank on the bottom, and I'm going to turn it upside down. For sure, all that stuff on the bottom is going to melt because I'm going to bring it up to the same temperature. But if I have a temperature solder that is going to be lower, then that solder will melt before the initial solder. Okay, I hope you understand that. So just wanted to talk about the solder. I'm going to keep this video short, and then I'll go on to making the soldering the bezel to the bezel plate. And we'll have a bezel cup and go from there. So once again, Giovanni Pitara, that was backwards. Giovanni Pitara, John Pederesi from Giovanni Pitara. You put that together, right? And if you want to view any of my My items are online at giovannipittard.com. You're welcome to look at them and get ideas, buy something if you like. But stay tuned for our next video. I'm going to make it right now after I sign off on completing the bezel cup. All right? So thank you. Bye.